All right, welcome back to the fish room. Time for the grand unveiling of Fish Room 2.0 and to show off the fish that have had a chance to acclimate and color up. So, real quick, what you're looking at here is some palette racking that I've painted black for a little bit of a sleeker look. We have 820 highs on each row, so we've got 16 aquariums in front of you. I'll step back and off to my side. We have this tool cabinet and a 20 long that will kind of serve as the nursery. That's where the fry will grow out, and also have the really sweet lulls, make more fish fry trays. So that is going to happen in the 20 long. So let's show off some fish, and then I'll show you more about the fish room. So I guess we'll start off here from the left. And these guys are a little shy. So I won these at an auction a couple days ago. These are Limia melanagasters. So the Black-bellied Limia. Memory serves me correct, they are from Jamaica. They're endemic to Jamaica. And I picked up 2 pairs. So we got the 2 girls back there and the larger of the 2 boys. The other boy I moved down below. I basically just want to make him a trio. Less pressure on the female. This bigger guy was picking on the little boy, so I just felt like that would be the better move, just to take the 2 pairs and turn them into a trio. For some reason, if they're not producing any babies, if I think like maybe we need to sub out that boy for the other one, then so be it. But these fish were brought in by the speaker, who gave a nice talk on live bears, in particular Gadiids and some Limias. So that was real neat that he brought these in from his personal collection, and I got a chance to bid and win these. So those are really neat. Nice addition to the fish room. On to some fish that I ordered in from Imperial Tropicals. We have the Pseudomugil luminatus, the red neon rainbowfish. I think earlier I called them the red neon blue-eyed rainbowfish. I mean, they do have blue eyes, but yeah, the red neons. There we go. So I've got a group of 10. I think they might have sent me 11. I did have one that died the first day, and there is one more back there that's a little bit skinny. I have treated them with some Paracleanse, but other than those 2, I mean, the rest of the group looks real healthy, so I'm very excited to have these back. And if you remember what I said earlier, these are the fish that I just could not have any success with spawning in any numbers beyond like 1 or 2 fry here or there, because they were predating on their eggs. So excited to try out some new methods on these ones. So very excited to have red neon rainbow fish again. Okay, in this tank, let's see if I can find them. These guys are a little skittish still. This is a Melanotaenia species. It's the deep creek rainbow fish, and I really like the coloration on them. For some reason, they kind of remind me of like a scratch tetra with their markings on the sides, but real nice kind of orangey red coloration. I think I've got at least 2 boys in there, and of course they're hiding behind the sponge filter and the easy planner. But I think I've got at least 2 girls. I would have liked to have a higher ratio. I think I've got maybe 3 boys, 2 girls in there. Oh, here we go. They'll come out. So real cool rainbow fish. And I am actually looking forward to getting some substrate in here, because I've seen them interacting with, we'll see it right there, that reflection. So I feel like they are seeing that reflection and they are interacting with it. So getting some substrate in here, I think I might get some more normal behavior out of them, because in the wild they would not have a fish that's below the surface where they can't get to. And it even looks like they are interacting a little bit with the reflection on the side. So I think another thing too that I'll talk about is just getting used to this fish room. It's only been operational for a couple weeks now. The tanks have been fully cycled for about a week. This is these are some of the first fish that I've had in here, so kind of learning what the routine is, what's the best practices in this fish room. A completely different layout than what I had in Washington. So yeah, just kind of figuring that out, but very excited to have these ones. Now, as I step back, any tank that still has bio rings in it from the Project Beyonce bio rings, that means that there are no fish in this tank yet, and we're just waiting for fish that I haven't ordered any yet, but they're just holding tanks. All right, so another group of fish from Imperial Tropicals, the Corydoras sterbai. So I got a group of 5 of these little guys in, and it's kind of like the most active I've seen them. So everybody got fed brine shrimp earlier today, and you can still see some brine shrimp floating in the water column. Excited to have some Corys again, and I've never kept sterbai, So yeah, some Corydoras sterbai in there. This tank has the last remaining trio of white cloud mountain minnows that I had at the warehouse. I think I've had these fish for well over a year. And are they going to hide too? Yeah, they're probably hiding behind that sponge filter there. Oh, no, there we go. A little bit of activity. So what I'm doing here is actually trying to do some spawning of them in this egg collector here. So just kind of an old school style egg collector with a false floor, if you will. I'm using some of the Easter grass in there, as well as a piece of Java moss on top, just to, you know, be kind of the focal point of where they'd want to come in and try to scatter their eggs. And that's been in there for about a week, and I have not pulled it. I've just been busy with other things. But today, actually, after I film this, I am going to check and see what's in there. And honestly, it might just need a cleaning. Okay, that tank had Rosy Barbs. I since relocated them down to here. So these are also Rosy Barbs that I've had for over a year that are in various tanks at the warehouse. But since I'm doing the Breeders Award program for the Bluegrass Fish Keepers Association, I need to actually spawn them here, record it, and turn some in at the auction. So kind of a neat thing they do is when you spawn a fish, you donate it for the auction, and the proceeds go to the club, which is pretty cool. So 2 or 3 boys in there with, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 girls. But that one boy back there is just real fired up. Okay, some more fish from Imperial Tropicals. These were the Kohaku Koi Swordtails, I believe they were. It's a trio, so we've got the one boy back there and the 2 girls. And I'm glad to see that these guys are coming out of their shell. They were pretty skittish, always hanging out towards the back, but now they're coming out towards the front, and they've been pigging out on baby brine shrimp, let's see, bloodworms, magic small fish feed. So even a big fish like this, relatively big fish, absolutely gets down on magic small fish feed. So yeah, excited to have some swordtails. Haven't really done too much with live bearers beyond guppies, so this is an exciting one to have. And this tank in particular, this one is actually rocking the Project Gimly Easy Undergravel filter system. So you see those 2 uplifts back there. We've got a big old deep bed of crushed coral above it. And actually, I did leave a little corner peeking. So that right there is one of the modular plates. So I would say 97% of the surface of the bottom of this 20 high is undergravel plate. And then we've got the 2 uplifts working. And it looks real neat in there. So I've never run, actually, no, I take that back. I have run undergravel filters, but when I was a kid in the Thunderdome 55 gallon that we had when I was little. All right. So past the Rosy Barbs, let's see what else. So no fish, no fish, no fish, no fish. I feel like this is a great problem to have because it's like the possibilities feel endless, even though it's only 16 tanks. The fact that I have, you know, a good number of them without fish in them, it's just, you know, a matter of time of, oh, what's going to come up, maybe something at an upcoming fish auction that we're going to have for the Bluegrass Fish Club at the end of this month. The Bluegrass Bash is going to have a fish auction, so very excited to have capacity to add some more fish. So here is the other Limia melanagaster, that boy. Let's see, where did he go? Did he want to tuck back there? Yeah, there he is. So he's hiding back there, but he had a little bit of some beat up marks on the back of his head, and you know, I didn't want that to turn into anything serious, so I think pulling him away from the more dominant male and just letting him do his own thing. And what I like seeing is that he's actually not overly skittish. I realize he's not, you know, he's not playing well with me right now, but you know, he's been up at the front. He's been eating the brine shrimp when it comes out, or sometimes if you've got a single fish by themselves, they'll freak out a little bit and just want to hide all day long. All right, floating in here, I've got 3 replacement medium-sized coarse sponges, and I'm floating them in here so they can start to seed with bacteria. And the plan is I'm going to try the Daku method breeding the Pseudomugil luminatus, where you keep a sponge filter kind of in the back corner there. So I'm not going to run a spawning mop like I currently have in here with the Deepwater Creek rainbow fish. I think it should still work with that piece of Anubias there, but the idea is that they will egg scatter into the corner and they'll use that coarse sponge. So they're like, okay, this is the best that we have. Let's just go ahead and breed here in this corner. Leave it in there for a week, pull the entire sponge out, and then just replace the sponge with another sponge and wait to see what hatches out of the sponge that you pulled. So you're just kind of rotating sponges, and that's why right now I'm floating 3 other ones so I don't completely take all the bacteria out of this particular tank. And so to go back and focus on this one, this has only been in here for like half a day, so the yarn is still going to saturate and soak up water, and by tomorrow morning it'll be dangling. But I've got an Aquarium Co-op, one of our easy floating mops, and what's neat about these is you can either float them or you can use one of the included suction cups that we put in here, and you can affix it to the front of your glass or maybe on the side or wherever you want. And that way it's not kind of traveling around with your water current. So you can do either style. You can let it float, or in terms of traveling, or you can just keep it fixed to one place and have it stationary. So I'm going stationary. I've never tried it that way. So interested to see how that's going to work out. All right, so that is all the fish that we have. So if that's all you wanted to see, you can go ahead and take off now. I will show some more kind of behind the scenes of what I've done in the fish room, and I'll just kind of start from left to right and work my way around. So I am in a basement right now, and this basement is very cool compared to the upper stories of the house. It was an unfinished basement, and we have finished out the majority of it. This fish room area is kind of technically unfinished, if you will, but temperature control, so great that it stays cooler down here in the summertime. If you want to escape the heat, not have to worry about AC, come downstairs. However, for a fish room, wanting to keep the temperature somewhere in the 73, 74 range, needing to install and actually run a space heater. So this is a fanless convection heater by eHeat. So this thing is like 1,000 watts. It kicks on every once in a while, but this is a supplemental heat source to the fish room. And so far it's been working pretty well. So we'll see what wintertime looks like down here in terms of keeping it warm. All right, so a lot of power. Every one of these drops, while I'm not going to focus on them in future videos, each one of these is its own dedicated 20 amp circuit. So there's a 20 amp there. This heater is actually on its own dedicated 20 amp circuit. There's one right there. There's another one and another one. So we have 3 20 amp circuits on the back. We have a 20 amp circuit here on this wall. And to show this wall off now. So dehumidifier, I've got this built up on a little, just a little box so I can have gravity drain. So this is normally on, but for the purposes of filming, I don't have it on. So this thing is going to gravity drain down into the black ABS. The black ABS is my main drain system for the auto water change. The white PVC lines behind it, that's going to be the supply line for water going into the tanks. The blue PEX right here, this is actually, and I'll take a step back, this is a kind of manhole crawl space area that's underneath my kitchen. So I have since installed a smaller dehumidifier unit in there because I'm trying to close this off. And I actually need to do a better job of sealing around that duct to keep the temperature air from passing back and forth between the two spaces. So right now I do think it runs, well, I know in the wintertime it's significantly cooler underneath there, but I do have some XPS foam behind this board, and then I've got this 1/2 inch secured with a couple of these little hand tightening screws. So yeah, that thing is going to drain, or the dehumidifier in there drains down into the auto water change drain. The next piece of plumbing that we have here, and this is really a must in a fish room if you've already got the auto water change set up. If you're already running water lines, setting up a dedicated standalone spigot so you can do something like this and run 15, 20 feet of tubing. On here I've got a Python hook, and so anytime there's a tank where I feel like, oh man, nitrates are getting a little too high for me, or I do a big cleaning or anything, a lot of gravel vacuuming, whatever it may be, and if I've dropped the water level too much, you don't always want to kick on your water change for an entire shelf. So you can just go ahead and refill using this Python hook into any one of the tanks that you want to. So that is a very, very nice luxury to have. And I guess to kind of go back and explain it further, the auto water change, each row is its own zone. So the 8 tanks on top are a zone, and the 8 tanks on bottom are a zone. So that's how I have that set up. This fry tank is its own zone. So this one I can kick off on its own. I don't have to worry about, any other tanks getting extra water. However, the water pressure was so high that when it kicked on, it was just, complete chaos and turbulence in here. So what I've since done is installed a control valve so I can, control the amount of water pressure going into here. And right now it's turned down fairly low, so that way I don't have, too much violent turbulence in there when a water change kicks off. One thing I will say is that little piece right there, this little guy's $14, which felt really, really outrageous. And it's got me thinking I'm in the wrong business. I got to be making these little, RO line fittings, because they're very expensive. And actually, this one I used to unnecessarily cap off my dehumidifier. This is more peace of mind. I think this one was $6, and it's just a little cap butt end. But maybe it's a real complicated build, or the manufacturing process is difficult. I don't know, but they're very expensive. All right, so we have a tool chest cabinet here. This, you would think, man, why do you need a tool chest? Well, in a fish room, you can accumulate a lot of stuff for your day-to-day, activities in the fish room. I've got meds here, a little toolkit. I've got some test strips. Here's the fishless fuel that I use for my initial cycling. I've got some spare mops for whenever I want to deploy those. Temperature gun. These are my overflow covers for the bulkhead. So you can see the holes for the strainer. And the back of it actually has, let's see if I can get in there and show this off. It's got that little ledge, if you will, and that helps to set the water level. So there's some debate right now. Corey is kind of giving me a hard time about my water level not being fully up to the rim. So I might have these redesigned, and that way it'll get the water level all the way up to there. Or I can use these and run an elbow system. Just do an elbow in each one, and then still utilize this at an angle and get the water level up. So yeah, each drawer, they're not all totally full, but you got some like this where it's a lot of leftover plumbing parts, but things that are still relevant that I might need in the future. Let's see, we've got the breeding trays. So I've got version, Gen 1 and the newest Gen 2 of Lowell's fry trays, which I'm very excited to try out. This backer rod is for another kind of floating basket fry project. Oh, look at that. Easy Undergravel filter system box right there. What else is in this guy? We've got some extra sponge filters, extra tubing. So my goal is that as far as extra stuff in the fish room, I only want to have it in this tool chest. Anything beyond this, I am just kind of getting sloppy and I need to clean it up. So in the Washington fish room, I just had bins and bins and bins of extra fish food, of samples, of products, of things that I was never going to use, and they weren't bringing me joy, so Marie Kondo it out. I don't want to have that in this fish room. I want to keep it nice and clean and organized as much as I can. One thing to show off on this 20 long is the way that I cut the lid. So I made it so that it was segmented, so that the fry trays, I could run them kind of in their independent little spots. So as an example, if I pull this one out and if I adjust it, it'll sit right in that spot right there. So as far as evaporation, as far as maybe I've got a fish in here, some fry that are known to be jumpers, I can still have a pretty tight fitting lid system without having it all exposed to the air for a fish to jump out or have excess humidity coming from this tank evaporating. So one thing I did not consider is I did my measurements on the smaller guy. The bigger one is a little bit longer. Yeah, so he kind of, has that little end that juts out there. So I'll need to rethink this lid system and probably just recut it and have this one redesigned to be a little bit shorter and then just recut these pieces. So not the end of the world. I don't exactly have, a ton of fry right now to worry about, so not too concerned about it. And then at some point, I will add lid handles to all of those as well, so they're easy to remove. Okay, I think, let's see, I guess I could show you how it drains out the back. So that's the drain from the top, and kind of butted up against the return line for the top row. And then it comes down and tees right there. Goes that way, goes behind. This ice spring unit right here, this is a charcoal filter, so this is pulling chlorines and chloramines out of the water. One nice thing in Washington, even though it was soft water, which is great for discus and other things, they didn't use chloramines, only chlorine, so not nearly as bad for your fish. However, in Kentucky and a lot of other parts of the country, using chloramines, so this unit pulls that out. Go around the hot water heater. Here's the solenoid system for the auto water change. So we've got 4 zones. The top one is not being used right now. I have the PVC in there, but it's capped at the end just for that extra peace of mind for leaks. The second one is for the top row. The third one from the bottom is going to be for the bottom. And then the very bottom solenoid is going to be for the fry tank. And you'll see here below that, we then have the ABS that transitions into the PVC P-trap. This does go into a sump pump unit, a basket around the side that I'll show you. And so to keep the sewage smells from coming back, that's why we run the P-trap. Let's see, this is where I tapped in to have my independent, that Python tubing that you saw where I can fill up tanks individually. So this is this is where it tees in, and I've got a control valve here. So if I ever want to shut it off from here at this junction, I can, and have kind of redundancy. So if I go on vacation for a couple weeks and I know for sure I'm not going to need it, just go ahead and close it down and have, one less charged line, if you will. All right, there's the ratio system. This actually was my sprinkler controller for my house in Idaho, but I knew that I was going to use it for a future fish room, so I kept that one and replaced it with just a basic model that the house came with when we sold it. So this guy is back in service, and that's great. Don't mind the old school central house vacuum system. All right. So water coming in from this whole tangled mess, and you'll see there's just HVAC, ducting, and everything. The previous owners never had any intentions of finishing this basement out. So, things are not cleanly tucked into the floor joists like they would on a house that was intended to be finished out in the basement. So we're working with the best that we have here. This is the mixer valve. So this is what's feeding the auto water change system and the Python hose that I have. So it is mixed water, and I think it's coming out around 68 degrees is the last time that I checked it. I do want to figure out what is a really good system. I need to go back and watch or consult with Dean on how he teed in with the PVC tee into his line, and had some like a series of adapters, which then led to a manual water temperature valve. But I want to say he was saying that there's some, they at times cannot be the most accurate, or if they fail, you then just have this thing that has failed. So more to come on that, but this is the mixer valve, so hot water, cold water coming in, and I can adjust this, lift it up a little bit, and just adjust this cap left or right to make it warmer or colder, but I think I'm at a good temperature right now. The air system, I'll have to go back and show you the air system. This is the end of the line for the air system, and this is where I have my hatchers. So I technically don't need 3 for my daily hatching. I'm just hatching on a 48-hour cycle, so I really just need the 2. But if I ever wanted to just like make a really big batch for freezing purposes and not take from what I'm feeding out the fish room for the day, that's, I've got a third option for me. This corner also, I need to figure out some shelves or another table situation. I've got this stainless steel table next to my utility sink, so I also put the utility sink in as well. And I want like a shelf for a table system to have Daphnia. I was inspired by the video of, was it CJ, I think? The Daphnia wizard, of just their whole Daphnia setup. I thought that was phenomenal. And I've never had success with Daphnia, but I've also only tried to do it in like a 10-gallon on the 3rd row in my old fish room and not really giving any attention. But I think the way that they ran their Daphnia setup in kind of the smaller Cambro clear storage units like that you would use in a kitchen, that seemed just a lot simpler. And so I'm excited to try Daphnia again. So yeah, trying to figure out, working around this radon vent unit. Do I go with another table? Do I kind of custom cut something to fit perfectly in this corner? Do I mount some stainless steel shelving up here? So I've got more, I don't know, I've got a lot of ideas for what to do in this little corner, other than just like throwing boxes on the ground. All right, this right here is the main ejector pump unit. We're actually back up against the finished bathroom in the basement. So on the other side of this is a shower and a vanity unit. And so this ejector pump unit is shared with the bathroom as well as my fish room. So my fish room ties in down here. And that was a whole saga because this is supposed to be the sump pump that was for the fish room. But come to find out, they installed the wrong kind. So this goes into our septic line. And this is now a sump pump for who knows when, if I ever flood in the basement from below the foundation, but probably never will happen because this house has been here for 40 years and they've never had an issue with water intrusion. So we're using that sump now, which it's fine. It's fine. It works. We're good. Yeah, so let's see here. This little nook right here that's got some leftover electrical work, or parts rather, this is kind of the perfect home, I think, for a small, like 1.5 cubic foot freezer. So right now I don't have a refrigerator or freezer down here, and it would just be a nice quality of life improvement to have just a little freezer here where I can store my brine shrimp eggs, where I can store, frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp, whatever it is, and not have to go upstairs to get it. I am just leaving brine shrimp out. So I've done this before in the Washington fish room. We always recommend putting it back in the refrigerator or back in a freezer when you're not hatching it. But it is okay to be out for, a few days, a few weeks. Like I haven't noticed any issues when I leave it out. These vials I go through pretty quickly though. But it would be nice though. If I had a freezer down here, I absolutely would take that vial and put it back in the freezer. You might be wondering what's going on here. This is just some leftover brine shrimp that I'm keeping going in this little guy, and I'll feed this out this evening. So I didn't want to load up the tanks with too much brine shrimp initially. And I've already got enough frozen, so I don't need to freeze that. And then back over here, so if we go around the HVAC units for the house, this whole little open corner right here that is kind of a mess of just the last remnants of my tools and whatnot from this complete build out are just still down here. There might be a couple other activities I do where I need to utilize the shop vac, but this space right here, like, do I put a desk down here? Do I put a couch of some sort? Like, I don't know. The other thought that I actually just had is that I could still put like a skinny rack on that back wall, and I have more than enough elevation drop to go around this corner and go underneath or next to those water lines and tie in to that sump drain. So I could do some more aquariums here if I wanted to, but I'm actually really happy with the setup right now. The fish room in Washington, I think, had somewhere in the range of 30 some odd aquariums. So 16 is a lot less than I had in Washington, but at the same time, from a work-life balance, from just not overdoing it, I think this is going to be a great number for me to have. And another thing on having a smaller number of aquariums in your fish room is that it's always going to kind of leave you with like a roadmap, right? It's always going to leave you like, oh man, there's more fish that I want. There's more fish that I want. Sure, all my tanks are full, but I've got, 4 or 5 fish that once I'm done with any given species of working with them, I know exactly what I want to get. And, I think it's going to help to keep that hunger alive, where not even that I had the space, but if I just off the rip had 50 aquariums, it is absolutely a lot more to maintain. But I think I would lose having that desire of, oh man, there's so many more fish that I want to work with because I'm so limited in what I can have right now. So last views of some fish, and I did say airline system, so let me show you here. Here's all of the air valves that I've got running, and I've kind of got them bunched up right now. This leaves a little bit to be desired, but the back bunch is going to be for the top row aquariums. This bunch right here is going to be for the bottoms. So when I chase it up, it's a little bit easier to find what I need. And I do need to go back with a Sharpie and actually mark the numbers of what each valve controls. And then the linear piston air pump is up there, as well as the power supplies and Casa timers for the lights. Last thing, this I think is going to be my little savior down here. This little rolly cart from Harbor Freight. We run these at the warehouse. But I think having one of these so I can kind of have a central table to do an unboxing or to catch fish out or to leave the bucket on as I'm doing a gravel vac out of one of the top row tanks. So this is going to be real nice, and just parking in front of this door, which actually leads out of the house, out of the basement. It's a walk up, or walk out rather, or walk up. Yeah, I did forget to install this handle system. You're supposed to put that on before you put the top on. I forgot it though, and I didn't feel like undoing it because for the purposes of my small fish room, I don't need it. So I think I'll tuck that away somewhere, and then that just fits that much more cleanly into, against that door. Or if I tuck it into the corner, I don't have, the extra 10 inches sticking out on one side. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tour of the fish room. And yeah, I'll be sure to give you all more updates, and hopefully, there's a lot of breeding success here. I'm going to be chasing that master breeder title for the Bluegrass Fish Keepers Association. So I'm just very hungry to have a fish room again and to be working with fish, breeding fish, and sharing them. I think that's one of my most enjoyable things, is just breeding a fish that's really cool that maybe somebody else wants to keep as well, and being able to just give that to them freely or trade or whatever it is. So I love that aspect of fish keeping. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for tuning in.